And welcome back to the UFL Newsletter Podcast, episode 10, double digits, 10 on the books. It is your host, Commissioner Cole Wagner, back with Jared Snyder there on the top corner. And today we are talking Bryson Allman. Yes, the man who went out and got himself a co-owner, a co-GM in the offseason in Chase Irvin, who has now joined the UFL. And we're going to be talking about their 2025 outlook. Jared, how are you feeling about this episode? And how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Excited to talk Bryson's team. And yeah, I'm ready to just look at some of these decisions, the draft he made, I think he's got a good team though.
Yeah, 100%. So you're talking about a guy. Let's go ahead and pull up the numbers. He had a rough season last year. There's no other way around it. He had a rough season, but he's looking to bounce back below 500 for the first time since his first year 2 years ago. Sorry, got to be more prepared. Here we go. So yeah, Bryson Allman heading into year number 4. His first year he went 7-9. Next year 7-7, and then last year 5-8-1. However, when looking at power score, he has gone consistently up. His team has gotten better year over year, even if the record doesn't show it. He had an abysmal luck percentage last year, negative 21%. Advanced data shows that, according to his league win percentage, he was supposed to be a top 5 fantasy football team. So he's got a great team. I'm going to go over the roster. I'm going to go over the rooms. We're going to go over all of that today, and let's get into it. So let's start off with the quarterback room. He brings in Chase Irvin, who is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and it sounds like Chase is already making his mark, and they go out and they go get Aaron Rodgers in the draft. They decided to let Geno Smith walk in the offseason to the draft, freeing up $37 million, and they go and take Aaron Rodgers at $13 million. This is going all in on their starter, Drake May, who Bryson took last year in the UFL draft. So, Jared, what's your thoughts on this quarterback room, the decision to let Geno walk and pick up Aaron Rodgers?
I think it's a good move for him. I think they're looking at Drake as the guy this year, so I don't think there's a point to hang on to Geno. Geno's aging. You probably can get similar results from Rodgers, assuming that that's what they're thinking. But they're not planning on playing those guys. They want Drake to be making the next step. And if Drake does take the next step, he should be set having a Bo Nix like fantasy year or even better maybe.
Yeah, I could absolutely see it. And the more things we've seen out of camp and really just when you watch the film on Drake May last year, there was just a lot of opportunity that you couldn't see happen. That is the worst sense of all time. But the point is, because of his offensive line, because of the coaching, and because of the skill position guys around him, we didn't really get to see what Drake May was capable of last year, though there were signs. And he's projected 323 points this year, which is over double than what he got last season. So everybody's projecting him to have a great year. He's got Stephon Diggs now in the mix. He's got a rookie running back to help take the load off in Travion Henderson. It's just going to be about executing in this Josh McDaniels offense. Jared, do you see Drake May? Do you see a world where he's a top 10 fantasy quarterback this year?
If he can get the turnovers down, I think yes. And I don't know if that, I think Vrabel coming in, maybe they can instill some of that Patriot mindset on him and get it reinforced harder, and maybe he can clean up the game a little bit. Don't make the mistakes, don't lose the game for your team. Go out there, just play the game. Because look at like those numbers. He has a stretch right there where he's fumbling 5 times in like 8 weeks
Yeah.
and then throwing an interception for 7 straight weeks or
Yeah.
something like that. Like that's just a recipe for failure or missing out on opportunities. There's some games in there he's got 2 turnovers that one game. He still finished with 20 points.
Right. Yeah.
He cleans up the turnovers. He's probably talking about easily in the top 10 for fantasy because
Yeah.
he's running the ball. I mean, they said projection of 500 yards for the year and a couple touchdowns. I feel like it seems like he really does like running the ball or like tries to run with the ball a
Right.
lot.
Right.
And I think that's probably the young mindset in him where he's trying to make a lot of things happen. So I think that maybe might help him get some points and be a little reckless like Josh.
Yeah, like right here, he ranked ninth in rushing yards among quarterbacks, second in yards per carry, and fifth in scrambles. So he definitely likes to run the football. It's just going to be about taking care of the rock And when looking at the cap situation, I mean, it's a rookie quarterback, so you know you've got a cheap Drake May, and then Aaron Rodgers not expensive at all either. So I think, Rodgers, when it's time to rely on him, I think there's a world where he could get you, a 10 piece like that. That's going to be tougher to rely on Rodgers than it would have been Geno, just seeing where Rodgers is in his career. But I think this is just more of them putting all their faith in Drake May, and this allowed them the money to spend and keep Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. So I think they cared more about keeping their veteran wide receivers around than they did about having a reliable backup quarterback, and they think they can get that in Rodgers anyways. So I commend them for that move. I thought it was a crazy decision, but they went with it. So then we go into the UFL draft. They take Tyler Warren, fifth overall, above Colston Loveland, who everyone had them taking five overall. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on Warren to Bryson and just in general, how quick can he make an impact on Bryson's team? Will we see him play this season?
I I have a hard time seeing him making that kind of impact unless we're in for something just special out of Warren because he's got to be competing with either Pickens or Wilson to be taking that wide receiver tight end spot. And I just have a hard time imagining him coming into that situation with either Richardson under center or Daniel Jones under center and ending up making Warren a top tight end in the league to be able to make him justified in playing him. And I just don't see that with the Colts right now, at least, unless the offense is going to be a lot cleaner than we saw last year with either of those guys. But I have a hard time imagining the Colts are going to be like that.
Yeah, yeah. He ranks second among tight ends in this class in yards per route run. He had over 100 catches, over 1,200 receiving yards. So his college career was fantastic, and we've seen him get compared to George Kittle and freaks of nature at the tight end position. So I think he's a big tight end who's not going to be as explosive as a George Kittle, but he definitely has terrific ball skills and can definitely carve away in this Colts offense, but I don't think this year he's going to make any impact fantasy wise just because of their situation at quarterback. Would you agree with that?
Exactly. That's the only comparison between him and Loveland is I think there might be no difference in their skill, or maybe Warren is better than Loveland. I think Loveland's got a better chance to put up stats just because Ben Johnson will maybe create those opportunities, and I don't know if the Colts are going to be necessarily doing that.
Yeah, right, 100%. They go and pick up Mike Gesicki after the draft, $8 million. They had the room. Why not do that? So definitely don't mind that. Looking into the running backs, this is one of the better running back rooms in the entire UFL, maybe even the best. It's a room that is stacked. And honestly, when looking at skill position groups, they probably have the best in the UFL when combining running backs and wide receivers. Just a lot of talent, and no guy is going to let you down at all at either one of those positions each week. But let's get right into it. They bring back Aaron Jones, who reportedly Bryson was keen on letting walk when he was looking going into the offseason. There was a trade that he was going to let go of Jalen Wright, but he wanted to keep Jalen Wright last season because he thought he would keep him in this year, 2025, and let go of Aaron Jones. But that seemed to not be the case. They let Jalen Wright go, and Jalen Wright is still a free agent to this day. And they hold on to Aaron Jones again. So at $10 million, he'll be fighting for touches now with Jordan Mason, who Minnesota picked up in the offseason at $5 million. He's on Taleb's roster. But Aaron Jones still a part of the mix, but he's not even going to be in the starting lineup because you've got Bijan Robinson at just $5 million there. Probably an RB3 at worst. Honestly, he's got so much talent, so much potential, and just hoping to see him in a less predictable Atlanta Falcons offense. And then Chuba Hubbard, who out of nowhere has been a top 10 back in this league, damn near, and he's at $8 million. So it's an expensive running back room, partly just because all their cap hits combined, but it's really deep.
Just looking at the cap hits right there, I feel like Bryson is maximizing the cap better than anybody. Like, look at the
Yeah.
team. The receiving room is stretched thin. The Pickens is his cheapest receiver, and the tight ends he's maximizing there. He's got 2 million cap space. I feel like that's a good management right there to keep make sure he stays in the range, but keeps value at every position.
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job handling the cap, and I think adding Chase was a big help. And we know Bryson it got to a point where we kind of see it with Evan, where he's still into football, but he doesn't know all the guys and all the right moves to make. So he brings in Chase Irvin, who's a football junkie and a fantasy football connoisseur. And I think that really helps Bryson take the load off and have somebody to go to evaluate decisions and to help him run the day-to-day operations of the team. And that's what Chase is bringing. And Chase is bringing a new life and a new spark. This is a team that can absolutely make a run for the UFL Cup. I really believe it. I think they are built not just starting lineup wise. Are they among the top three teams in the league? Probably not. But with their bench and with that depth, and when injuries do strike, when your wide receiver five is a Stephon Diggs or an Adam Thielen, you're sitting fine. So running back room is solid. They're running back the same, no pun intended. They are running back the same running back room as last season. So that'll be good to look forward to. And then at wide receiver, we just touched on it. DK Metcalf at $33 million. Garrett Wilson gets extended. He's at $32 million. Stephon Diggs, they surprisingly bring back at $21 million. Adam Thielen with another $8 million. And then George Pickens is your cheapest guy on the roster at $1 million. So they have put all their money into wide receiver, no question. This is where all the money lies with Metcalf, Wilson, Diggs, Thielen, and Pickens. Jared, is this the best wide receiver group in the entire UFL? And just touch on some guys. And do you think George Pickens and DK Metcalf can get back to being wide receiver ones in fantasy?
I'm we could say it's maybe the most well-rounded group by projections, but I wouldn't say it's the best just because I feel like the Wilson clearly is the one there. Metcalf is the one in Pittsburgh. Pickens being the two, I don't think necessarily makes this the most complete room. He could go out there and get the numbers to be playing like a one, but Metcalf I also feel like is I don't think the production is going to be premier DK Metcalf this year necessarily. I don't think we're going to be seeing a 1,400-yard year, 10 touchdown year out of Metcalf. I imagine it's going to be closer to that 1,000 mark, and he's going to be grinding it out every week to get there. And I just have a hard time imagining that Pittsburgh offense being a well-oiled machine. And Diggs coming off the injury, I feel like there's a lot of possibilities for downside with a lot of those guys. They
Yeah.
could trend up and be exactly what they're projected, but I feel like it's possible that a lot of these guys are maybe not going to be what the dream scenario is.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you've got a couple of guys where they're not necessarily number ones anymore. DK, George, and Stefan. However, a guy that I think will bounce back and explode this year, even though he's not number one in his offense, is George Pickens. I think he had his best season on film. I think he's finally in an offense that actually likes to throw the ball with
Yeah.
doubt. Although Schottenheimer's hinted at running the rock more, but I still think with CeeDee Lamb getting more attention, I think Pickens goes over 1,100 yards this year. I really do. And I could even see 1,200. Like Pickens on film had the best season of his career just with route tempo, route running, ball skills, all of it. He's a freak of nature. And I genuinely think as the season progresses, it's going to be Wilson and Pickens as the top two. And
Yeah.
DK is going to kind of be faded out along with Diggs and Thielen. But what I don't understand is Jared is I talked to Chase right before the draft, and he said that George Pickens is absolutely on the trade market. Mind you, he is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I do think he has some ill will towards George Pickens. I don't see a world where they should be trading George Pickens right now. I think that would be just foolish behavior. And to all the other 16 owners right now, I think you've got to be asking about George Pickens because this is a guy that could blow up any second.
No, I agree. I didn't know that that was going on. I might reach out to them later. So thank you for that insider info.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Actually, saying it out loud. Um, I may be in on him. Not play. But yeah, so there's that. Overall, though, very deep wide receiver room. Stephon Diggs, hopefully he can kind of get back to just like 80% of what we know is Stephon Diggs. He's like just being a good slot receiver in New England, even if he is a Z receiver, even sometimes out of X, just making plays and getting yards after the catch, just to see a healthy knee after that surgery would be ideal. And then Adam Thielen is your wide receiver five. I mean, granted, I think $8 million for Adam Thielen, but like he's still, I don't know, he still produces like as much as I want to get on him, and he's not the
I feel
prettiest.
like age isn't the issue there for him because he's not losing the ability to make people throw people
Yeah,
off their game with his route running. I feel like he's got the quick feet, he's agile. He's not necessarily the same lateral speed athlete or the same physical athlete, but he's
right.
going to go out there and still be the same route technician he's always been.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And then Garrett Wilson. I mean, you have Justin Fields on your roster. How much better do you think Garrett Wilson will be this year without Aaron Rodgers? Ironically, Rodgers is on their fantasy roster.
Yeah.
With Justin Fields in real life, do you think it'll be an improvement?
I see. I think it's more that it's like kind of like the Penix and Pitts thing where they're buddies now in the offseason. They're golf buddies. I think Fields and Wilson are probably good friends outside of football and because they played in college together. I think the connection is there or the willingness to try and make that connection happen again. So I think Fields is going to be looking at Wilson a lot, maybe more than Rodgers was because Rodgers had his BFF in New York already. So he was looking at Devontae instead of Wilson. So I think Fields and Wilson, they have a good chance to be more lethal than last year's version of Wilson. But Wilson was still playing. I mean, that's great production for
Yeah.
being basically the number two essentially in the offense where he should have been operating as a one.
Yeah, he
But
still had 1,100 yards receiving, and people think of that as like a horrible season. So what's a good season going to look like, you know?
yeah, no, if he's out there functioning as the true and they're running the offense through him and stuff, I don't see how Wilson can't have like an Amon Ra type year and get up there, have some big numbers.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. But yeah, overall, this is just it's a really good team. It's got depth. And
Hmm.
I think it's absolutely a playoff team. Just kind of taking a look at the schedule. So you've got Devin and myself, weeks 2 and week 3, that'll be tough. David and Andrew, 5 and 6. So you got two stretches right here. That I think kind of they're going to be tough. That first 6 weeks, kind of facing some powerhouses back to back. But if you can withstand it, things get a lot lighter here on the back half. We kind of saw that with Andrew a little bit. So Bryson's going to kind of be hitting that same point of just get through the first half of the season, and then let's see our guys start winning down the road. But overall, I see this team. They're bringing back a lot of the same team roster from last season, and I don't see a world where they don't make the playoffs. What's your thoughts on that?
No, for sure. I think looking at the possible starting lineups out there in the league, I have a hard time imagining that Bryson can't find a way to have a better matchup at least 9 times out of the 14 games,
Yeah,
especially with his schedule.
right.
The down the stretch part, I think if his team's hot and they're playing well, I don't see how he doesn't make the playoffs. I think Bryson's easily a lock for the playoffs.
Yeah. And he's ranked 12th right now in all-time owner stats, but you got to take a look at that luck percentage. I mean, it's probably the third or fourth worst luck percentage in the league, just taking and just looking at last year alone. I mean, that killed him. So I think the same roster with better luck, I don't see a world where they don't at least enter the dance. But yeah, is there anything else you want to touch on with Bryson's team in general?
Um,
What would you say
I
is
think we can just give it credit that it is probably one of the few teams that could survive a serious injury.
yeah.
I think if he loses one of those receivers, he would not lose that much production bringing in one of the veterans off the bench.
Yeah,
Same at
even
running back.
mhm.
He's very secure, I think, in this roster.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. The only world where I think they get seriously hurt is if Drake May does go down, how well
Hmm.
can Aaron Rodgers um, run this team, and can he just be good enough to where he's not given negative point games and he's just, he doesn't need to be a star, but he's just putting up, you know,
Well,
10,
last
15.
year, one negative game in the new rules.
Yeah, yeah, negative 15. That'll lose you a week real
Yeah,
quick.
that'll definitely do it, especially in playoff time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Even 1, 5, 7, 9, like that's not really going to cut it. But if you're just getting 17, 12, 16, 17, like 18, that's fine. That'll 21 of 39, 85, two touchdowns, one picks. You know what? trust the other five to go win for you. I think it's doable. So this is a team built on depth. It's a team built on fully maximizing their cap strategy and their financial situation. And I'm excited to see how this thing plays out with Chase Irvin in the mix. So definitely something to be excited for. One X factor. I like that bit you started with the X factor. For me, it's going to come down to God, I don't see how it's not Drake May. I mean, it's just what do we see in year two from Drake May? Because I think no matter what, Bijan through Hubbard, they're gonna be fine. Granted, I don't think DK is the number one anymore, but those guys, I think Pickens will offset any regression from DK. I think they'll be fine right there, and they've got a solid bench. It comes down to Drake May. Can he lead this team who's ready to contend for a UFL Cup? Can Drake May go out and lead them to a UFL Cup? That's going to be the question. What is your X?
I 100% agree. Drake May is the difference there because he can win him this league or lose him this league. If Drake
Yeah,
May plays bad, that could be making Rodgers have to play, and starting 41-year-old Rodgers is not probably a good game plan to win the league.
right.
So if outside of injuries, I to the quarterback, I don't see how Bryson's not in the playoffs, and I think Drake May will definitely be the reason he's getting there.
Yeah, 100%. So that was a little bit of a quicker run, but I think Bryson, there's not much to be said. I think he's done a good job. He's been very stable. And overall, it's a good team who we both have making the playoffs in 2025. So very excited to see the season in store for Bryson Allman. Next up on the slate, episode 11 will be Cole Pletcher. Cole Pletcher, who I think I don't know. We'll talk about it in the episode. We'll talk about it in the episode. Cole Pletcher is a very interesting topic of discussion right now. A lot of stuff has happened over in Pletcher's camp. So that is episode 10. Jared, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next time.